Well, all right. It's 11 o'clock, and I like to start on time. Hopefully, everyone will be able to join us as we go in. So, I will first like to say welcome to our BCTC Women History Month panel, Exploring Womanhood, a panel discussion with BCTC women about lived experiences. My name is Dr. Carlos Yates. I am the Chief Diversity Officer here at BCTC, and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is sponsoring our event for today. At this time, I'll turn it over to our moderator, Ms. Shelby Hugo, excuse me, who will be moderating the discussion with our wonderful panel of women here at BCTC.
Thank you, Dr. Yates. And first of all, let me say thank you so much for entrusting me to moderate this wonderful session. I cannot tell you how excited I am to actually do this and to hear the stories from this dynamic panel that we have at BCTC. I'm so excited that we did not look outside of our institution because we have some fabulous women here that are doing wonderful things. I also want to thank all of you participants that have logged in. I hope that we can grab some nuggets from these dynamic women and learn about their lived experiences as they navigate through their journey, their professional journey here at BCCC. So just to take care of a few things at the very beginning, the only people that we are able to see right now online are our panel. So that you can see their lovely faces. And thank you, Savannah, for sacrificing some of your trip out of town to be here with us. So I do have questions that we're going to ask the panel, but if there are questions from the floor, I will also be monitoring the chat. I will be looking at the chat, and at the end, we will try to fill in some more questions. So the questions that we have will probably take our full hour, but we want to save a few minutes at the end for any questions from the floor. So to not delay this dynamic discussion, I would like, first of all, for all of our 6 presenters and panelists to first introduce themselves and to share just a little bit about your role at the institution and how long you've actually been here. So in an order of alphabetically, we will start with Miss Tanya Gross.
I wasn't sure where you were going to start. Last name, alphabetical, first name. So I'm glad you called on me first, Shelby. So I am glad to be participating today. I am Tanya Crawford Gross. My current role at the institution is AVP, Dean of Students, and I have been at Bluegrass, Lexington Community College / Bluegrass for 30 years. So I have been in various positions. A lot of my time here at the institution has been as in the TRIO programs, working with students who are first generation low income students, pre-college as well as currently enrolled students. And my current role, I work with sort of the student access part of the college. So I work with the Office of Admissions, Disability Support Services, our TRIO programs as well, and Ready to Work. So that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you, Tanya. So next we'll go with Dr. Ida Otieno.
All right. Thank you so much, Shelby, for the invitation, and to Dr. Yates, too. My name is Dr. Ida Otieno, and I'm a faculty member here at BCTC. I'm a professor of English and African Studies at BCTC, and I also direct the Kenya Exchange program. That is a little bit about me internally.
And how long have you been here, Ida?
21 years, yes.
21 years. Right now, we're up to 51 years, you guys. We've only been to 2 people, okay? 2 people. All right. All right. So next on our list, I think we're going in alphabetical order, is Laura. Laura Puente.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Laura Puente, and I am the director of the Northern Migrant Education Program here at BCTC. I have been employed by BCTC for 2 years full-time. Before that, about 3 years part-time.
Well, we will give you 5 years, Laura. Okay. All right. So Savannah at the airport. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Savannah Sipple. I am at the airport, so you might hear some background noise. I'll try to prevent that as much as I can. I've been at BCTC for 3 years now, and I teach English and Appalachian Studies, and I'm also the co-chair of the Common Read Committee. So I help run the Common Read program.
Thank you, Savannah. And next we'll have Miss Kathy Swango.
Hi, everybody. Good to be with you today. Thanks for this opportunity to share a little bit. I'm not seeing myself. I don't know if you all are seeing me. Okay, I may have to log out and come back in. I am a professor of English and Humanities, and I've been at BCTC for 21 years. So Ida and I are twins. I am also the chair of the faculty. My 3rd year as chair of the faculty.
Thank you, Kathy. And then bringing in the rear is Dr. Melanie Williamson.
This is tough because I'm following a lot of great people. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. I'm Melanie Williamson. I am currently an academic dean at the college over several areas. I won't say them, it takes too long. But if you have questions, I'm happy to help anybody. When I'm not playing the role of a dean, I am a professor of computer and information technologies.
And Melanie, how long have you been here?
20 years.
20 years. So again, ladies, thank you all so much for volunteering or voluntold to be here today by Dr. Yates. And I want to say again, I think this is our first panel that we are celebrating Women's History Month. So kudos to our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Division for sponsoring this. This is awesome. It says a lot about the direction of our institution and what our females and our women mean to BCTC. And for all of the women who are on the line, we're celebrating all of us, not just for these 30 days that they've given us, but 365. And so we are doing some impeccable things, and we are here to hear about them today. So let's get started with some of our questions. And one of the things I wanted us to talk about, there's so many people who've been influential in our lives, right? As we grow up, there's so many people that we admire and we aspire to be like. And so if you ladies could share with us who has been significant in your life, an outstanding person who has influenced you. So we'll go back in the same order. Tanya, can you start with that?
Sure. I'm happy to have the opportunity to share about this. I thought about this for a while, and of course I had to start with my family. My mother, very strong woman, I was a first generation college student, so she didn't know exactly what I needed to do to be prepared to go to college, but she knew to get me to the right people. So education's always been very important. So my mother, my grandmother, who she was the role model. At 65, she had spent her entire life working as a domestic, cooking and cleaning in other people's houses. And at 65, she made the decision to go back and get her GED. So, that was sort of where I'm coming from. But I also thought about a lot of the women that I've worked with here at BCTC in different roles. I've worked with some really impressive women in leadership, women who may not be in leadership roles, but serve as leaders in their areas. And then also I thought about some of our students, some of the students who, have overcome a lot of barriers and challenges just to get to us. And then by earning a credential, really can change the whole trajectory for their family. So I don't necessarily have any specific names, but just thinking about, again, particularly our students, being successful and sometimes just getting to us is a big success for those students. So.
And you know what, Tanya, I kind of figured you would say something like that because you were always putting our students first. So I think that tagline came a long time ago because that's just who you are. So thank you for that. Ida, who has influenced you?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. And I'm like Tanya. My mother was and still is, even in her death, of course, a major influence in my life. My mother was a trailblazer, actually, in my part of the world within the Anglican Church of Kenya. She was a pastor for 30 years, and she became a pastor at a time when women were not even allowed to hold leadership positions in the church. She would later mentor a new generation of women leaders within the Anglican Church. Actually, some of my colleagues have taken to Kenya, met her. She died in 2016. But I learned from my mother just the idea of getting out in the community and doing things. She was a servant leader in the community. She literally was a philanthropist, even though she did not have much, but I don't remember even a single day that our home was just us. You know, there were always people from the church feeding people, widows, and so on and so forth. My mother gave of her time and her resources to the women and also families that were in need. I learned how to pray from my mother. She was also my minister. She taught me to read the Bible. I would love to read all my life, actually, because of my mother. Even simple things like the multiplication table, the alphabet. I learned those from my mother even before I started going to school. So this was a woman who influenced me, continues to influence me to date. If I would pick one woman in the United States, which is the host country that I've lived in more than now half of my life, I would pick former First Lady Michelle Obama, not just because she is very talented, she is an educated lady, she is fashionable, but the mere fact that she's given us an alternative narrative on the Black family. When I came to the United States, you know, through television, through other media platforms, there's always this narrative of the Black family as dysfunctional. And that is always out there. But then comes the president and the first lady on a national stage, giving this alternative view of the Black family. And I thank her for that, not to mention philanthropy and other things. And also for loving my brother from, you know, who has Kenyan heritage, the former president, Barack Obama. So I'll leave it at that. But there are several other women, even within our school, that I aspire to be or who have influenced me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. And it's so amazing how even in death, something can still be instilled in you that's still so influential in you, because I hear a pattern with Tanya and you about your mothers, and that's really important as well. So Laura, can you address the same question?
Hello, yes. I would have to say my response is going to be similar to the previous responses. Someone that, well, the most outstanding woman that's had a great influence in my life has also been my mother. You know, she came to the United States as a very young adult with children and had to, you know, begin a new life for herself here. It was not easy for her. She worked full time. She raised a family. She just did everything that she needed to do with obstacles thrown in her way, one after the other. She tackled them as she could. She did what she needed to do, provided for her family, and, you know, gave us the best experience of childhood that we could possibly have. We all have great memories. I have 3 other siblings. And, you know, she always pushed for education also. And again, like Tanya, I am a first generation college student in our family. She's always supported me in that, helped me numerous nights with taking care of my kids so that I could do homework late, things like that. You know, just being there and supporting and knowing that she overcame so many obstacles. I always knew there was a way to overcome any obstacles thrown my way also. I always had that support and that feeling that if she could do it, then I could do it.
Thank you, Laura. It's amazing how, you know, you don't have to look outside your own home to find that empowerment and that strength and that support. So that's awesome.
And of course,
Savannah?
other women that I've
Sure.
throughout my education, throughout career and everything, lots of other women that fully supported me and helped me get to where I am today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I think it first starts, of course, with my family. Both of my grandmothers were very strong women in different ways. One of them, especially for her time, was quite the feminist because she worked full time and she waited till she was in her 40s to have kids, and she was the first county court clerk in our county. And so she was just very opinionated and not afraid to share what she thought. And so that shaped me. And then my other grandmother, went to school until the 8th grade, but she taught me so many things about how to care for people, but also how to value the land and how to garden and can and preserve food. And so that has just deeply been ingrained in me. And so, there have been other people in my life, of course, teachers and other folks. But for me also, I'm also a writer, as well as being a professor. And so there are a lot of writers who have influenced me and public figures, feminist thinkers who have shaped me, particularly when I was trying to come out as a lesbian. And so folks like Audre Lorde and Audrey and Rich, and then also folks like Bell Hooks and Gloria Steinem have influenced me a lot. And I've always looked up to writers like Roxane Gay, who are very fearless, but also folks like Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama, for the way that they set an example for women that I think is so important, and to show how complex we are and also just the different kinds of challenges we face.
And Savannah, I'm so glad you talked about the complexity of our womanhood. And that's what I so admire about you six ladies, because we bring such, a very diverse perspective, right? And so the things that influence one may not influence another. And it's so interesting in hearing your backgrounds and your stories to see where you come from. Because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So thank you so much for sharing that. Also, Kathy, can you share with us?
I think I'm here. So
You're here. We can see
Good.
your lovely face.
Thank you. For me, like for several of us, it was my maternal grandmother is the one that I think of as probably my best role model. She was born in 1893, and as a young woman went to college. I don't know how, but went to teacher training at what is now Eastern, EKU, and then rode a horse to go to the little elementary school where she taught. So, what a toughie. And then she married and was widowed at 25. The flu epidemic of 1918, Spanish flu, took her first husband and left her with 3 little children who were 3 and 1 and 9 days old. She persevered. She always kept a cow, and she milked, and so she could sell cream, she could make butter and sell butter. So always found a way to take care of herself and her children. And then met my grandfather. He wasn't my grandfather yet. Met him and married him, and they had my mother. But my grandmother, and then she worked in a tent factory during World War II. So a spunky, hardworking woman who always found a way. So kind of like Laura was saying, she always found a way through. She saw the best in things. And even when things seemed to be so difficult and even impossible to take the next step, she somehow was able to do that, and always saw good in things, always saw beauty in every day, and taught me to be optimistic and to love. So my maternal grandmother.
Awesome. And Kathy, that story is so powerful because you're talking about the strength of a woman. And there's so many times that we don't get to sit back and wallow in our sorrows and, be sad about things. We still have to pick up and take care of family and take care of children and take care of our households and all those kinds of things. So that's a really passionate, awesome story. All right, so Melanie, can you bring in the rear of this one? Who's been significant in your life?
Sure. So first I'm going to say, and this is probably not going to surprise most of you, I come from a long line of very courageous, strong, stubborn women, right? And so the stubborn is probably at the forefront there, but I learned a lot from all of them, from my grandparents down to my niece. I mean, still today. But also, so I was trying to think outside of that, and I could go on for them, and then we'd be crying, and that would be ugly. So the probably from in high school, and this has stuck with me from even today when I talk to groups of students. My 11th, 12th grade math teacher was instrumental in encouraging me to go into the field that I was. And I didn't even hit that path. So we'll talk about my path here in a bit, but she was instrumental because she was so strong. Cindy Tucker, that most of you knew, who are here, right? I mean, we clicked and set on fire everything that we did, and it was great. But also Maureen Doyle from Northern Kentucky, and then Chris Stevenson from Google. I mean, these are all women who what I've encountered as I've kind of chased my passion of encouraging women in STEM, and that I've encountered, and they've been significant. So wonderful. I'm so blessed to have been in this experience that I have. So.
And you've mentioned some dynamic people that I've had the experience and the opportunity to work with as well. So I'm going to let you continue on. We're going to go backwards since you have the momentum. So Melanie, share with us really how you got here, your career path. And did you even expect to be here today, and talk about your challenges that you faced along the way?
So starting with Miss Wood, I'll go backwards, and then that was so important because when I graduated from high school, they said your strengths are English and math, and at the time nobody knew what that, I mean, that was back in the 1900s, and nobody knew what that was, right? But it sounds so old now, but it was really programming. If I step back and look at it, it was really programming. But my first degree, it really was in English. And so I had pursued that and I loved it. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. That's what I knew when I finished was that's not what I wanted to do. So I ended up at Toyota on the line, putting together security systems because that's the technical in me, right? Love it. Love working with machines. Started doing somebody else's job in the office doing databases. And I said, nuts to this. I'm going to go back to school. So I went back to school, got my CS degree. Loved it. When I graduated, what I knew is that I wanted to teach. And that's what I wanted to share that love with other people and kind of shape people and guide them into it. And that's really why I ended up teaching. Loved it. Had a series of fortunate introductions that I ended up propelling me into some national committees. I'm in the National Center for Women in Information Technology. I'm one of the Academic Alliance co-chairs. I've been part of the Community College Chair. I'm in the ACMW, which is their women's organization. I'm part of that. These are all things that shaped me along the way. And I think they formed me into being a leader that I am. And so I was also continuing smart building. I was also in the roles at the college, being a coordinator of the program, and then continuing on and into assistant dean, and then into this role. And I feel like it's a good fit. I never thought I'd be here.
So what challenges have you faced along your journey, and how have you been able to overcome them?
It's a male dominated field of computing. right? So anytime you're in it, it is very male dominated. And so there was a lot of, when I look at it, I always say, if I could share that I don't care. And it's not that I don't care because I care a lot, but I don't really care if somebody says I can't do something, right? And so that's the I don't care that I want to share, is that I believe in myself and I can continue on. So.
Oh, I need to write that down.
Because I do care.
I think that's a T-shirt, Melanie.
Yeah.
That's a T-shirt. Yes, I like that. Kathy, what about you? Tell us about your journey. And did you expect to be here today where you are?
No way. No, I knew that the one thing I did not want to do was teach. And I was so shy and so timid as a younger person that was just, it terrified me, the thought of being in front of people and teaching. But as my mother kept encouraging me to go into English because I loved English. I loved writing, I loved reading, I loved language. And so she kept saying, go into English because you can do anything with a degree in English. Right, Melanie? And so I listened to my mother and I did what she said. And then I was finishing my master's degree in English and was thrown into a classroom to teach a class. They didn't have anyone. And as a graduate assistant, I was thrown into this classroom and oh my gosh, I loved it. And so that was in the spring of 82. Yeah, that was 1982. So, and as I pretty much have been teaching ever since. I lost my first husband when I was teaching at Morehead State University. And after his death, I just felt a call to do something new. And so I went back and went to seminary and got a degree in counseling. And from there was in ministry, served as a minister for 4 years, and then got back into teaching. And so it's been an interesting journey. And here I am, and now moving into something new in the fall with, I'll be the new assistant dean in the humanities division. And so stepping out, I'm 67, and so maybe you can teach an old dog new tricks. So here I go.
You look every bit of 21, Kathy. I'm learning so much about you today. So along the way though, what has been your biggest challenge?
I think staying challenged, staying interested, having new things to look forward to, having some variety. There always being something to look forward to, because I've had some periods where I was kind of stagnant. It seemed like I wasn't changing, I wasn't growing, wasn't doing anything new. And so pushing myself out of my fear into accepting new challenges, looking for new challenges. I think that's been the challenge for me.
Okay, thank you for that. And I know, Savannah, you've been here 3 years, right? And so we haven't heard from the old dogs. We just heard from the big dogs. So can you tell us a little bit about your short-term journey to BCTC? Did you expect to be here where you are today?
Yes, I had hoped so.
Good.
I've always, teaching was always part of my career plan. I'm also a writer, and so for me, teachers have been a huge influence, both in my writing and just in my life in general. And so, but I also wanted a career that would give me some sort of ability to not only have time to write, like in the summers, but also teach writing and creative writing. And so, being a professor made the most sense for me. And so after college, I worked at a television station, a Christian television station, and did video editing and got my master's degree. And I started actually at another KCTCS school. And so along the way, I've worked at other schools. I've worked with master's students, teaching creative writing to graduate students.
Time is 11.
There's the airport. I knew that would happen at some point. And then I've also been a bookstore owner, but since I've been a part of KCTCS and moved to Lexington 9 years ago now, I wanted to work at BCTC, and so getting a job here. I love community college students. That's one thing I've learned along my pathway. I've worked with students at different levels for different reasons and enjoyed it all, but I really love community college students. And so for me, that's kind of what has led me here. And I've never considered a leadership position until I started at BCTC. And so now things like being a coordinator or potentially other stuff, those doors are starting to open, and those are paths that I'm interested in taking and wanting to take. And so it's been really fun for me to see the way I've grown since I've been at BCTC and to see the way my career has shifted.
Thank you, Savannah. And I love it when you say, and I love when people say that they wanted to work at BCTC. And that says a lot about the institution that you're working for, and you do grow where you are planted. So I do appreciate you saying that. That does mean a lot to the people who work here. So Laura, tell us about your journey, your career path, and were you expecting yourself to be where you are today?
I think years ago, had I been asked that same question, I probably would have said I didn't expect myself to be in the position that I am today. But I liked how Savannah said she hoped that she would be in that position one day. I think I felt that also along my journey. I hope that one day I could be in this position. So I am not from Kentucky. I am from San Antonio, Texas, but I've lived in Kentucky since I was about 10 years old. So Kentucky is what I consider home. But as a family moving back and forth from Kentucky to Texas, these staff members came around from school one day and were like, we want to sign your kids up for the migrant education program, and we want to offer some tutoring services, and we want to help them get on track and grade level. So my family participated in that program for several years. I graduated high school. I started a family. I attempted community college, did that for about a year. And then I just kind of felt like I just kind of got away from that for a little bit and focused on my family situation. I ended up having a second child and went back to school again, community college, but all while working part-time for the same migrant education program that I participated in as a child. I was an interpreter, and I was an ESL tutor, and then doing community college on the side. It took me a long time. I would do a little bit of college, then take a little break, then do a little bit of college and take a little break. But finally, when my kids were all school age, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this, and I need to dedicate myself and really get through it. But I was working for the migrant education program and doing school full time with 3 kids. So it took me a little bit longer, but eventually I graduated from community college with associates in arts degree. And then my coworkers and supervisors just supported me 100% and were like, you've got this, a little bit further. Let's do this. And so with their support, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I attended Morehead State University, and I actually graduated Morehead State University and then was hired by BCTC in a director position. So, I mean, and director of the migrant program that I was once a student in. So it just wraps my entire story, I feel like, around for me. Just trying to give back to a program that gave me so much in providing educational services to me as a child in staff working for that program, supporting me to continue my education and just to be able to complete the goals and be where I am today. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey. I'm very, very proud. I'm very thankful to everyone that supported me on the way, you know.
And Laura, you should be very proud. Your story was like full circle.
Yeah.
For me, and there was a lot of sacrifice in your story too, as well. So I commend you for where you are today. That was great. That was great. So, Ida, can you share with us your career path and some of the challenges that you may have faced along the way? You're on mute, Ida.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Great. Well, I feel that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, teaching, you know, the classroom. And as I already mentioned, my mother has had a huge influence in me. And, you know, as a church minister, you get to plan lessons. You get to stand in front of people to teach, you know. And I watched my mother teach and plan lessons and talk in front of people all my life, actually. I'm my last born child. So I had the front row seat, you know, observing teaching in progress. So I went to Maseno University. My path to teaching did not start here in the United States. I went to Maseno University where I majored in Bachelor of Education, focusing in English, you know, teaching. So I taught actually in my country for 3 years before relocating to the United States. And of course, my path to teaching pretty much was influenced by the idea that the platform of teaching can actually give you an opportunity to, you know, restory places, people, you know, ideas and build community. So I liked that. When I came to the United States, I had to go back to school. I realized very quickly that my bachelor's of education in Kenya, which was highly valuable in my country, obviously, was not going to get me a job right here. So I went back to school, of course, to Eastern Kentucky University for my master's. And it is this master's that got me the job at BCTC, where I've been for the past 21 years. I've, of course, continued, you know, my education, you know, at the University of Kentucky for the doctorate in comparative international education, which actually has helped me with the exchange program, international education. Because within that framework of comparative international education, I was introduced to international education literature, people who have excelled in international education through conferences like NAFSA and so on and so forth. I would meet people that have helped me, you know, become what I am in the field of international education and the passion that I have for it. Of course, there have been challenges in that path. I'm telling you, and again, there are some people who have done this within our organization, but transitioning to a new culture is not easy because you leave everything behind and you have to start afresh. That is what I had to do. I left the world that I knew. I was already a professional woman, you know, earning my own salary and doing my stuff, you know, by myself. And then you come to a new country, and then your degree is not being accepted for, you know, a job here. And, you know, I came with great hopes that I would just get a school and start teaching the way I was teaching in Kenya. Absolutely not that way. I had to get back to school to get the master's. And then I got the master's and I got a job straight away, you know, because it was an American degree. So transition is very difficult, you know, for a lot of immigrants in the United States and elsewhere. Going back to school forced me to juggle roles. And I know Laura talked of role juggling and maybe others, because I was going back to school with little kids. You know, my second born son was born when I was getting my master's at EKU. My daughter was born when I was getting my doctorate at UK, with a full-time job. So role juggling was very difficult for me beyond just the transition. And then the general perception of the foreign student, in an American classroom. And it is there. The classroom environment in the United States or in the Western world for people from elsewhere is a contested space. People sometimes may doubt you just because maybe your name sounds different, you speak differently, forgetting that you're speaking 3 other languages while they're speaking 1, of course. And if you perform well, it's like you're surprising people because they are not expecting that. And those things, can actually be very challenging, particularly to our international students and our immigrant students, who have to, find their way through this new educational system in a new culture. I could go on and on, but yes, it's been a great journey so far. And I'm not trying to change it for anything.
And
Yes.
Ida, your challenges too have also been a great, what's the word I'm trying to use? You have such a unique specialty that brings to this institution. It's been a great benefit to BCTC. So we appreciate your perseverance and your strength as well throughout your journey, because you have been a great asset to BCTC. So Tanya, the question for you is the same question, and then we'll follow back with you with the next question I want to ask.
So you talking about our career path. I was reminded that as I can't remember, maybe my first or second year at UK, meeting with my advisor and telling her that what I wanted to do was her job. I wanted to be a college advisor. I wanted to work with students. So I knew early on that I wanted to do that. Wasn't sure how that was going to happen, but I first, actually, once I finished my master's, I started in community mental health, working with adolescents. So I did that for a very short amount of time. It was a position where I worked with teenagers who were adjudicated for beyond control, disruptive behavior. So I worked with them in an after-school program. I really enjoyed that. It was a hard population to work with, but I really enjoyed working with those students. Unfortunately, it was a grant-funded position, and the grant ended. And so I was looking for a new job. And so I found a position here at BCTC. It was the start of our TRIO programs, the Educational Talent Search Program, working with middle school and high school students. And I thought, well, that's what I like. That's what I want to do. And so that started a pretty long career working with TRIO programs, talent search. And then I went to Upward Bound as the educational advisor. And then I spent many years as the director working with those students. And I just loved the whole access and opportunity provided by those programs. I loved that a lot of those students ended up coming to BCTC. So being that opportunity for people to improve their lives was really important for me. You asked, I think, Melanie or maybe Kathy a challenge. And I think it was Kathy, and Kathy said one of the challenges that she encountered was staying challenged. And I think I got to that point. I really do. I loved the students that I worked with. I loved the programs, but I needed a new challenge. I needed to be pushed. And so I was provided an opportunity by another woman, our president at the time, Dr. Julian, also Dr. Polisa Williams-Russian, provided me an opportunity to sort of move away from the grant programs into administration for the college. It was an interim position that then I worked my way into a regular full-time position away from grants, which was sort of scary. I mean, that had been my comfort zone for a lot of years. But again, it was just another opportunity, again, to stay engaged and involved with the students that we serve here. And so that was really important. Probably the challenge I have now is that the more administrative duties you get, the less opportunity you get to be engaged with students. So, Kathy talking about being in the classroom, Ida being in the classroom, Melanie being in the class. It's really important. That's why we're here. That's what keeps us here. And I think helps to keep us on our toes, ready to respond to those challenges. So that's why I've been here so long. It's just I've had different opportunities along the way. And I really believe in what we do here.
Thank you, Tanya, for your answer. And Tanya and I started the Upward Bound program together. It's so funny how, we've made our way through this college and this academia, and we started off together 30 years ago creating, Tanya was instrumental in creating that grant, the first grant, Upward Bound grant for the program. So I know Charlene Walker was very responsible for that, but implementing all of that was Tanya had a lot of responsibility in that as well. So I know we have about 15 minutes left. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to ask a couple more questions, but I'm going to have half of you address the question. So the one question I really want to get to is how has gender shaped your career? And so I really want half of you all to address that question. And so whoever wants to go first to do that, I don't want to pick you, but how has gender shaped your career? Who wants to address that one first? And I see Savannah took her speaker off. So go ahead, Savannah.
Can I go first just because I might have to sign off?
Yes, ma'am.
So for me, gender has shaped my career in a lot of ways. I have had multiple situations, not at BCTC, first of all, but in different positions where I have sort of been manipulated a little bit by male supervisors. And I've also had situations in the past, also not at BCTC, where male students have been rude in excessive kinds of ways. I think with the generation I grew up in, I was always told girls do certain things and you should be submissive, and I've always felt like I have had to really advocate for myself, and that a lot of times being demeaned or being belittled has had to do more with gender. There have been situations where I know that if I were a male professor or a male subordinate, my experience would have been different. And so it's meant that I've had to work harder. It's also meant I've really had to learn to speak up for myself and advocate for myself. Again, that has not been my experience at BCTC. But in general, I think women, we really have to work hard to make sure we're heard, whether that's in meetings or in the classroom. And so it's just something I've had to learn throughout my career in a lot of situations.
Thank you, Savannah. And that is so true. I mean, throughout everything and the struggles and the challenges that you have in life, there's always a lesson to be learned, right? And so I hear what you're saying. Anyone else want to address that question?
Let me try.
Okay, Ida.
Shortly. I view teaching to a certain degree as also mothering, I think. I am a mother of 3, actually, kids. And when I have students in front of me, whichever platform I'm using, I also think of my children. I also think of my children in the classroom in front of somebody else. I have a son now who is in medical school at the University of Louisville, another one at UK, public health, and I have a senior going to leave home to college just this fall. And I think of them, and I think of the places they'll occupy in the classrooms, and also in research and other spaces. So in my syllabus, of course, we normally give students the syllabus, and we think we are going to follow it to the letter. I've broken my own rules many times just in order to accommodate my students. I've been more lenient, of course, with my students, particularly during this pandemic, because I'm thinking of the challenges my students go through as students, as mothers, as caretakers, as community leaders, multiple roles. So I have to take those into consideration. But as a mother too, tough love, I teach research paper, English 102. And an argumentative research paper is not always easy for students to write, actually. Some of them come with, one-minded, one-sided view, and it's very difficult to get them out of that in order to write about topical, issues that impact humanity's future. I get to get some tough love going with my students in order to get them to be able to write properly, college level writing in order to graduate in or pass my 102 classes. So I truly believe that this culture of caring that we are trying to espouse, at our school, teaching lends itself to that. And also as mothers, as females, and I'm not saying male teachers are not caring at all. I've met some in my own life who are totally caring, actually would make me look like a terrible teacher. But I truly believe that my gender and my role as a mother and just as a friend has helped me quite a bit in my journey in teaching, not only here, but also in my country, Kenya, where I taught before coming here.
Thank you, Ida. I really do appreciate that you said a lot, and you are so true. So as we're wrapping up, I do want as many of you as we can, as time allows, to address this. We have several young professionals that are on the call today, some people outside of BCTC. So what advice can you give our BCTC women or our young professionals or anyone outside of the college, in particular, maybe some of our students that may be on the line? What advice could you give them today as you have navigated through your journey and you're continuing to grow? What little special nuggets can you share with them that will help them along the way? Melanie, can you start?
Well, I shared my confidence of you should have the confidence to believe in yourself and not let others tear that down. Also use your resources, and that's the people standing around you. Those are the people in the classroom. Those are your family, all of the above.
All right. And what about you, Kathy?
Probably my best piece of advice would be to find some mentors, to develop relationships with, especially for us women, to develop relationships with other women, with women in the professions. Like Tanya said, find someone in a job that you think you would like to hold and become friends with them. Let them guide you, let them advise you, let them mentor you. But so many times we women are each other's worst enemies. We are so hard on each other and so unkind to each other rather than supporting and building each other up. And so just look for other women that you can connect with and let them guide you and let you guide them for all of us to be better and stronger.
That's so important, Kathy. Good point. And I just said that in another meeting this morning that, I have gone through my journey as well with a mentor, one that's on this call right now today, which is Tanya. And I think that is so important as you're going through your journey, is someone that you can bounce ideas off or someone who could hold you accountable for things. And so I think that is very crucial. So Laura, can you address that? And then Tanya?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure how to do this. Can you guide me? Can you help me? I've had so many leaders guide me along my path, and there have been there have been times where I've been, I'm stuck. How should I move forward? What is it that you think? Take that advice. and just like Kathy said, let them guide you, but don't be afraid to ask for help. We all sometimes get stuck, and we all need a helping hand. I've had several helping hands to help me get through each different stepping stone that has helped me get here.
Thank you, Laura. And that's a great point too, because needing help is not a sign of weakness, right? And so everybody needs help. So that's a great point. Okay, I see that we have 5 minutes. So Tanya and Savannah, if you could kind of wrap us up, and then we'll turn it back over to Dr. Yates.
Well, I was just going to clarify that if Shelby considers me a mentor, I have considered her a mentor as well. We have mentored each other. But I think that is the point. Finding those, doesn't necessarily have to be a woman, but finding those women who can support you, who can challenge you to do better. If you need help, you have somebody that you trust, that you can go and say, okay, I've got this issue, I've got this problem. What would you do? And sometimes they might tell you like, "Ooh, girl, you just messed up," but maybe they're going to help you find the solution, right? So I think that's important. And I said this, Shelby and I were in the same meeting yesterday. One of the things I said is follow your passion. Whatever that might be, you might start out in English and end up in STEM, right? But you follow that passion, and that will only lead to success. If you keep trying to do those things that are really, aren't passionate about, you won't be successful. So that would be my advice.
Savannah, thank you, Tanya. Can you wrap it up in 30 seconds?
Sure. I think what everyone else has said is great. Of course, have your support system. Don't be afraid to speak up and speak out. And I know a lot of times it's hard to have confidence, and as women, we often doubt ourselves or second guess. But make a decision, be firm in it, and if you make a mistake, you can apologize and make it right. But just as much as possible, I follow this all the time because Audre Lorde says, I am deliberate and afraid of nothing. And so be deliberate, and as much as you can, put that fear aside. It's probably still going to be there, but try to let it go and just operate in your power.
Wow, I'm deliberate and afraid of nothing. What a way to end our first session and panelists for experienced women and people of higher education, women of higher education here. This has been awesome. I've learned so much from you ladies, and I really do appreciate you being very authentic and transparent about your journeys. Is there anything from the audience that real quick that someone wanted to ask before we turn it over to Dr. Yates? I feel empowered by you all, and I really do thank you all so much for sharing, because we had such a diverse panel today from people who've been here 2 to 5 years versus our 20 to 30 year tenured faculty and staff. And so this was an impeccable panel, and thank you all so much. Dr. Yates, is there something you would like to share before we close?
I try to keep my camera off to give you all the shine. I just want to say thank you for being a part of this panel and bringing some sunshine to our rainy day. Your words that you shared with us were amazing and inspiring for everyone. Thank you, Ms. Hugel, for being a wonderful moderator, as always, and carrying the conversation. And thank you, everyone, for attending this event. My charge for you would be to go out the remainder of the month and find those women who have been inspirational in your life and celebrate them. Because as we've seen over the last few years with the pandemic and stuff, you just never know when people need to get their flowers while they're still living. And so that would be my charge for you all. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week. And that's it.
Great. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.